So we're up to Kuf Mem Tes on the base. We're in the sugya of about Mekach Memkar, and then we got hit a little bit on the lotteries to divvy out pieces, and we spoke about they would divvy out pieces in the Beis Hamikdash, and those pieces was called. Let me find the place. Those they were called Chaloshin. So we're up to 1, 2, 3. About when 4 lines get wide, about 5 lines up, it says, "My mashmed I Chaloshin lishna de purihu." How do you know the lashon of how do you know that the lashon of Chalosh is the lashon of Puria? How do you know it means what? It means like Purim, guys. It means a lot. You know, Purim means a lot. So how do you know it means a lottery? And we're speaking about specifically a lottery that Nebuchadnezzar went ahead and did. And again, we're talking about a depraved person who was into Mishkav Zacha. So the pasuk says, "Eich nafalta mishamayim Hillel ben Shachar nigdato la'aretz chaylish al goyim." Shining one, son of dawn, you've been cut down to the ground. The one who casts lots. So you see that what? You've been cut down, but the one who casts lots. So we see the lashon chaylish al goyim is who casted lots. Amar Rabbi Rav Huna, what was the lot for? Matal pour al gedolim malchus. He would go ahead and put the pour on gedolim malchus. Ben Yomo shel mishkav zacha. He would go ahead and be machnia all the kings. He would go ahead and be over in mishkav zacha with the kings, and he would guess lotteries to exactly who it was. He says, "Ki malchei goyim kuloi sachru b'chavoid ish b'beisai." Why were they ish b'beisai? Is because they were arrested from mishkav zacha. All the days of that Russia, all the days of the Russian Nebuchadnezzar. No berry. There was no happiness in all the berry, the whole world. There was no happiness whatsoever. Shnemar, nocha shachta kol haaretz, right? And patzku rina, right? It says that as the earth is calm, peaceful, they burst forth in song. So what do you mean patzku rina? Chalad hashtali habirina. They burst forth in song when he died, is because until then there wasn't. I can imagine when Hitler died, there was a tremendous sense of the world. Imagine what happened to the whole world. It was Radan. It was Radan. It's us to stand in the house of that Russia. Hashem wants the Seirim, which are the Shadim, to dance there. And if the people are going to come, the Shadim are going to leave. When he wanted to go ahead and be over in Mishkav Zacha with Tzidkiyahu, it says, Nimshacha Orlasai Shalish Meas Amma. His Orla was Nimshach Shalish Meas Amma, Vahis Matzeres, Amasiba Kuloi. It was surrounded, the whole gathering of the kings there. Shnemar, because the Pasuk says, so Vata, Koloi Mechavai, Shesei Gamata Va'orel. Or Begamachi Shalish Meas Ave. Now we know that generally 300 is a guzma. Guys, we have it in Masech Tamid. It says that 300, the core in the tapuach in the middle there, 300 is a typical guzma. It's 300. So it's very. I heard a very nice pshat that Nebuchadnezzar was a descendant of Nimrod, and Nimrod was the enemy of Avram, and Avram was symbolized bris milah, and the gematria of Nimrod is 300. So that's the whole kesha over here that of 300, the symbolization is Keneged Milah. The people in Yard Gehenim they were screaming, they were scared he's going to come and take charge over there. Maybe think about this Russia. This guy must be the biggest Russia of all time. Maybe this guy's going to come and rule us over there. Or what? Or they make us weak. Shenema gam ata chulesa kimono elenu nimshli yatzabasko v'amra mimi naamta redo v'yishkafta esar elin ach shavas noige shofsa middeheva. So how the says again, I'm reading just what I wrote from the article. Shabbos Noike Shavsa Madheva, how the oppressors were ceased. The golden Maheva has ceased. What does Maheva mean? Amar Yitzchak Amar Rav Shavsa Umazu Shama Amar Aleph. The word Madheva is Midod Vaheva, measure and bring. Measure and bring. Right? Fikadiyami Shamra Ma'od Have V'lei Mida. Bring Ma'od Ma'od Mida. Ru'u Yisera Saftali. Additional greatness was given to me. This is what was the additional greatness to him? Rav Yehuda Rav Yomi Rabbi Malamed Sherochav al Ari Zachar, that he was riding on a male lion, the Kesha Tanim Baroisha, and he had a serpent as a crown on his head. That even the servants of the chayes of the field were serving me. Because that ends the Maisa with V'chaneza, and it ends for the evening. It ends the Agarata for a while. We'll get back to a little Agarata a little later in the share. Says the Mishnah, La Yischar Adam Poilim b'Shabbos. You're not allowed to go ahead and rent out Poilim on Shabbos. Again, Mekach u'Memka is not permitted. Well, Yomer Adam Chadeirei Nuk, you say to your friend, Lischolei Poilim. The Gemara is going to ask, what are you talking about? If you can't do it, of course you can't go ahead and mimic your friend a shliach to go ahead and do this. It's not permitted. Ein machshichim ala second halacha. Ein machshichim ala tchum. You can't go ahead. That's the rest at the waiting on tchum at 2000. Shabbos to Yovel Lischolei Poilim. Will have you pay rest. The rule of thumb is you can't go ahead and be machshich on the chum to do something that you would not be permitted to do on Shabbos. So just like you won't be permitted to hire workers on Shabbos, and just like you can't go ahead and bring payers on Shabbos, you won't be able to not go out of the chum. You couldn't be able to go ahead and wait at the chum for Shabbos to be over to go ahead and do it. Aval machshich hu lishmar. You could go ahead and wait to wash your payers, or maybe payers biyadai. In other words, you're allowed to wash your payers on Shabbos. Let's say you have a field right outside of Tchum, you will be able to wait there on Shabbos to go. And since you're able to go there, you'll be able to bring your parents back. We'll see Bez Hashem the Gemara what Abishol means. Okay, so the first thing in the Mishnah was that what? That you can't go ahead and hire Poilim, nor can you tell somebody else to hire Poilim. Fred the Gemara, of course he can. What's the purpose of telling his friend can't do it? So Papa, we're speaking about a guy. We're speaking about you can't tell the guy to go hire Poilim for you. Master Ravashi, we had earlier in the Masechta, guys, right? We said you can't tell a guy to go ahead and put out a fire. You can't tell a guy to go ahead and go ahead and hire workers for you on Shabbos. It's not permitted. It's not something you can do. So if you're telling me that the Poil you're speaking about is a guy, what are you telling me? You're telling me something that I already know. So therefore, Elo Amar Ravashi, Lashon Charata, what exactly are you telling me by saying that nor can you tell a person to do that? Is Afilu Tema Chaver Yisrael, even if it's a Jewish person, you can't say to him. And Hokamashman, the Chiddush is, Yoma Odom L'Chaverei Sachali Poilim. You can't say to your friend, hire me Poilim. Aval Oimel Odom, you can go ahead. Aval Oimel Odom L'Chaverei Hanirish Shetamanimi Le'erev. Shall we see if you'll join me in the evening? In other words, you can go ahead and say something that would allude to the fact exactly what you want to do. So, will I see you this evening? Meaning that the higher worker, so that you could do. That's not a dibur. It's considered, it's a wink. It's a hero, right? A wink, as he says. It's a hero, as we're going to see. So in other words, you can't do that. I feel the chiddush is not that you can't tell your friends that, but you could tell your friends, right? You could tell your friends, Hanirish Tamanimi Le'erev, you think you'll see me this evening? You think I'll see you here? Umashli some money, and who's the town of a Mishnah who allows you to do that? Who allows to say, allude to it by saying, I'll see you in the evening? His money is Krev Shuv and Karcha. The Tanya, a person should not say to his friend, Hanirish Tamanimi Le'erev, will I see you this evening? So go back to the Mishnah. It says, Mishnah Yisrael and Poilim b'Shabbos. You can't go ahead and hire Poilim on Shabbos. Right? You can't go ahead and do this. What's the Kiddush? You can't tell your friend, will hire Poilim, but you could say to him, will I see you this evening? Like a Yeshua ben Karcha. So it's not for the din, it's for the inference of the din. Back in the Gemara, the halacha is conjunction like Yeshua ben Karcha, that your person can go ahead and muse. The word to be muse, M-U-S-E. Will I go ahead and see you this evening? Rabbi Rav Chanan, another than Rabbi Yochanan. My time in Yeshua Karcha. What's the Yeshua Karcha that allows this? It says Mimtzei Chavtzecha v'Dabe Davar. Dibur asa a dibur of Mekach Memcha, a dibur of business, a dibur of Hayim Poilin. That's asa. But here we're alluding it to it in just Maharer, thinking that that's permitted. So therefore, since you say, well, I see you this evening, he knows exactly what you mean. You're Maharer to higher workers. Therefore, that's permitted, and therefore the law is Yeshua ben Karcha, and therefore you can go ahead and say that to your friend. Rami le Rav Acha bar Rav Huna l'Rava. Mi Rabbi Yochanan dibur asa hiru muta. Does Rabbi Yochanan really say dibur asa is hiru muta, meaning hiru is lav kedibur dami? Alma hiru lav kedibur dami. We had Masech the brachas. V'amar Rabba bar Achana Rabbi Yochanan. V'chol mochem muta laharer. Every place is you're permitted to think and learning. Let's see, Beis HaMerchatz, with the exception of Beis HaMerchatz. Or Beis HaKisei. Right? In other words, you are permitted to think and learning any place, except in the Beis HaKisei or the Beis HaMerchatz, where you're in a state of undress, or there may be something shmutzadik around. Now, if you're going to tell me Hirur is lav kedibur dami, why should you not be able to think in those places? Why not? You tell me here is lav kedibur dami, so therefore you can muse and hire workers. So go ahead and muse in the Beis HaKisei. Says the Gemara, Hasan the Be'inin v'hoya machanecha kadosh v'leka. Special halacha. In other words, there's another step. Ein achinami here is lav kedibur dami, but there's another special halacha of extended elevation of kedusha in these places, and where even hearer is not permitted. Says Rashi, v'hoya machanecha kadosh v'lekasiv bei davar. It doesn't say davar. It doesn't say dibur. Elamakam chaniyascha. Wherever you are, take kedusha. Wherever you park yourself, you should be kaddish. The time of Mishum, the Yisrael maharim tamid b'divrei Torah. You could underline that, guys. You see, you think all the time in Torah. Rashi's saying a statement. Yisrael are maharir all the times in Torah. Rashi says that. There you go. In other words, whatever you think you're thinking, you're not. You're thinking in Torah, and therefore it says machanecha. Wherever you're parked, you're thinking in Torah. It's got to be kaddish, and since it's not kaddish, you can't go ahead, man. The end of the pasuk says we should not see ervas dava. So we see that what it's le'asa ela b'shas dibur. So what are you telling me? That even just thinking, it says le'yir l'cha ervas davar mashma dibur. So we're questioning this concept of kadosh. If here it's not dibur, and it says le'yir l'cha ervas davar, mashma that when it comes to dvar erva, that you have to have dibur. So why can't you go ahead and think and learning in these places? If here is like dibur bami, and for the Gemara, hahumi boile the Rabbi Yehuda. I need v'layir because ever stava for Rabbi Yehuda's din. Rabbi Yehuda, akum orum also likras kriyashma. An akum that's orum that is without clothing. It's also to say kriyashma kenegdai. It's also to say kriyashma kenegdai. My area akum afili yisrael nami. Why do you need a special din by akum to tell me? To tell me that you can't stay in front of an akum, Yisrael also you can't stay in front of. It says, "Lo mi boy kami." You don't need to tell me. Lo mi boy Yisrael da asar aval akam of an akum. Kim dechsiv be asher b'sar chamorim b'saram. Do you think that what we say in certain halachas, guys? We compare the goyim to animals. L'inyan yichus that the zera is like a b'sar, is like a chamor. Right? I think there's a Tosfos by Rabbeinu Tam says that the bia of an akum is not metama. That's by Esther Nachashveiroi. She brings this pasuk. We have that in Daf Ches and Ksubis. So you see, there's such a concept of that when it comes to these inyonim, maybe perhaps the goyim are like animals. If they're like animals, they would not be ervas kava. Therefore, you need a special pasuk. Ervas dava. Let's say in Achinami that's not. Kamash Balon. Says by Noach. Noach was lying in a state of undress, and Shem and Yefes came, and they covered him. The Ervas Aviyam and the Erva of their father, who was a guy, Noach was a guy. We see that what is considered an Erva. So it's very, very interesting. Now, so you told me that Dibur on Shabbos. You told me Dibur on Shabbos. It has to be. It can't be about. Business. We saw a Tosfos earlier, Daf Kuf Yud Aleph on the base, that your words on Shabbos should be different. We saw Yerushalmi in that place, Mr. Shimon speak so much on Shabbos. Shouldn't speak so much on Shabbos, So l'chayra, it says you're telling me that you can't speak a certain way. For diba miyasa, back we're up to kuf nun, parallel to the Tosfos Oma Adam l'chaveroi. Okay, the third Tosfos is parallel to that, a few lines down. For diba miyasa v'ham Rav Chisda Rav Hamnuna Dami Travayu cheshbon shel mitzvah mutar l'chashim b'Shabbos. Calculations of mitzvahs you can do on Shabbos, right? It's moitzah chavsech v'daber davar. You're speaking. From Rabbi Laza, poiskim tzedakah l'aniyim b'Shabbos. You can go and figure out, make the cheshbon how much tzedakah to give l'aniyim b'Shabbos. From Rabbi Yaakov by Ridi, Rabbi Yochanan, b'fachkim pekuach nefesh, b'kuach rabim b'Shabbos. You can go ahead and attend in yon with pekuach nefesh or pekuach rabim or needs of the rabbim Shabbos. The whole from the Bati Knisias, the Pekayach Liski Rabbim Shabbos. You can go to make appeals and shuls from Shulban Achmini, Rabbi Yochanan, Holchen, the Tatiyos, the Kakisios, the Balsikos. These were all places of where people would mass together. The Pekayach Liski Rabbim Shabbos, the Tanah Menashe, the Shadchan al Tinoikos, the Yoris Shabbos. You can make Shidduchim on Shabbos. The Altina Kalam safely. You can hire a tutor. Ulam the Umnish. You can hire a craftsman. So you see, there are a lot of plenty of things you could do on Shabbos when it comes to Dibur. What's the obvious answer? Amakra, Nimsa Cheftsecha v'daber davar. Cheftsecha isurim. Your own needs, your own desires. That's asa. Cheftse shemayim mutarim. When it comes to Inyani shemayim, that would be permitted. Amrav Yehuda Meshmuel. Now, cheshboina shel malach. Cheshboina shel, what is it to you? This is not a malach. Malacha. You look at the Gersa. Malacha. What's to you? The shalma bekach, and what of it? Mutal l'chashim b'Shabbos. Says Rashi. What's going on over here? Says Rashi. Shal malach, shal eitza. A piece of advice. She'ena shaloi. Ain't tzarch bekach. You don't even know about it at all. You're going to write to live nice bias. Kach v'kach tzarch lo'itzi boy. You want to build a house? It's going to cost you this much. V'leinira k'may malacha. V'leinira k'may malacha. Malacha. What is there to you? Man, you don't need them. Could go in the priest, like I explained. So in other words, if it's just stama, which again, a little problem based upon that Tosfos that says you're not supposed to speak too much. Okay, but anyway, it says over here, cheshbonis that you make. Now I realize it's speaking. It says l'chashvon. It's interesting. It doesn't say to speak, but I guess making a cheshbon and verbalizing it else to be. How else would you know it, right? So therefore, this malachach is permitted. And now, what does that mean? Tanya Nami Hachi, cheshbonis she'avru, cheshbonis that are in the past, u'she'asidim that will be in the future, liya asa l'chashbon. That's asa. However, shel malach, shel mabekach amidays, mutar l'chashbon. That would be what? That would be permitted. That would be permitted. Yeah, because it doesn't seem to be, it has nothing to do with business. It's like hesh. It's like people just talk. Like they just talk. They have a lot to say and they just talk. There's no reason. They're not saying anything. Now, Uramino, I'll ask you a stira. You just told me things that happen. You could talk about things that happen. Past tense. Uramino, I'll ask you a stira. You can make cheshbonis that are not necessary. The aim mechashvin cheshbonis shetzrichen b'Shabbos. Ketzad. Oim odem l'chaveri kach v'kach poilim moitzesi al asadazu. Such a poilim I hired for this field. Kach v'kach dinorim moitzesi al dirazu. So much money I play on this house. Aval lo yomer lo kach v'kach moitzesi kach v'kach ani osid. So much I spent and so much I will spend. Lo haitzi. So they have a problem. You told me that you can speak about mabekach, and then you tell me you can't. It's selfish, fair, because you just told me, look, guys, look at the beginning. Look, 4 lines down. It says, what could you do? You could say, Kate said, you could say that. And then 2 lines later, it says, so it's selfish, fair. If you still owe the guy money, then it's current. You can't go ahead and talk about it on Shabbos. If it's, you paid off your mortgage, you paid off, you don't owe anyone, you paid off your personal loan, your college loan, that you could say, that you can speak about. But you still have the loan intact. that you can't. We said, to do something what, guys? To do something that is also to do on Shabbos. So you can't go to the Tchum. Let's say you want to gather your parents and right after Shabbos, you can't. If you want to go wash your parents after Shabbos, you could, because you're allowed to watch your parents on Shabbos. Tan Rabbanan. Maisa b'chasid echad. There's a Maisa with a chasid. Now again, guys, Tumura Tesvav. Anytime we have a Gemara that says chasid echad, it's either Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba or Yehuda bar Eloi. Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi is about plukta that we have all the time of Meah. Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. Right. The Shenifitza by Loi Peretz B'tech Sadeu, his field, the fence came down. V'nimlach aleha, and he thought about what legoidra. V'niska sheshabbasu, he remembered his Shabbos. V'nimtza oiseh chasid, v'nimna oiseh chasid, and now this chasid he refrained legodra, and he wasn't goider, guys. Lo'olam. Even during the week, he didn't do it. In other words, he didn't stop and then right. He never did it. The nasaloi nes, a nes happened, but also by tzlaf, and it grew for him the very famous tzlaf, the caperberry bush that we had in brachis that had 3 types of fruits, right? Yeah, it's geschmack thing to get. And from this, it was mefarnes him and anshe beisai. So there's a lot of great Torah on this, guys. A lot of great Torah. I'm going to share with you from my Chava Olav Shalom, Ramat Shio, Zechat Tzadik Kadosh L'Bracha, from the Torah Ladas. He says a wonderful, wonderful thing. He brings an Arizal that this person, this Chassid of Yehuda bar Eloi, was an Nitzoitzis of Slavchad. Slavchad, Mekoshes Eitzim. What did Mekoshes Eitzim wanted to do? He wanted to Mechal Shabbos L'Shem Shemayim. He wanted to Mechal Shabbos L'Shem Shemayim. Why? Because he wanted to teach Klal Yisrael, and he was considered a tzaddik. The Gemara in Baba Basra, Kuf Yutes, he's considered a tzaddik by what he did, because he did L'Shem Shemayim. They should know what was happening over here. What did this person do? This person went ahead and he thought about going ahead, so he was the kapara for what? For tzlafad. Guys, what was his reward? Slaf chad. Slaf chad. What was his reward? Slaf chad. That slaf was it. Guys, listen to this. Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi is gematria 552. Slaf chad ben Chefer is the gematria 552. Gewaldige piece. Hear this? Dari in Sefer Likutei Hashas. Gewaldige piece. So it says Slafcha ben Chefer was the gematria 552. So he brings a Taz over here. It's fascinating. Now I'll read it to you inside. Rabbi Yerucham holds that a Yisrael tells an Akum to do Malach on Shabbos, it's also to have enough for him forever. In other words, usually when someone's Mechal Shabbos, you have to wait Motzei Shabbos Kadei She'asu. So if you cooked on Shabbos, you would have to wait Motzei Shabbos. How long would it take to cook this dish? Kadei She'asu, by the bathhouse, right? How long would it take to heat up the water after Shabbos? We had this Gemara, right? However, if a Mir La'akum, so Yeruchim has a tremendous chumrah that you don't say how long would it take to do it. If the Amir La'akum took place and he did the avodah work for you, awesome, completely awesome. That's a shita Rabbi Yeruchim. So, and so here's the lashon of the tas. He wants to explain a Gemara. He brings in the Maisa. Why was he called a chassid? That they didn't go ahead on Shabbos and close his field in. What was the chassidus over there? And it says Nimlach, he stopped, right? And says the Taz that initially he thought it was Shabbos, and he thought to go ahead and ask a guy to go ahead and close it down. He thought to ask a guy to close it down, as it says, right? To close a loss, and therefore he remembered that it's Asa. It was Shabbos, but he was machmer himself to the Shitas or Yeruchim. If you go ahead and tell a guy to do something in Shabbos, right? So you never have a nochmed. He would never be able to go ahead and be megad to the field, and therefore he was called a chassid. And therefore that's why he was called a chassid. Why? Because the chassidus was that he never closed it up because he was machmer for the sheet of Yeruchim that if one tells guy to do malacha on Shabbos, we don't say Kadesh Yasu Mitzvah Shabbos, he'll be Yasa forever. So since he thought about telling a guy to do it, his chassidus was that he never was Magada to feel after that. That would be very nice. Two very nice pshatim. One derech pshat, and obviously one derech soid. Derech Peprim is using the 552. Isn't that amazing? Peladik. I'm not a big gematria guy, but sometimes it's hard to say that. Somebody's got to make that up. Because of the gematria.
Rabbi, can you post that after the share?
Yeah, I best Hashem. I'm going to get my phone. I was going to post it here, but I don't have my. I didn't have my phone. Yes, Yehuda.
So why, if his whole point of Chassidus was not to close up the breach, so why would he want to use from whatever the breach was closed up with eventually? Why would he want to have hana from that?
From what?
From the tzlaf.
I think that the fact that tzlaf was such a rare thing to get, and why shouldn't he have enough from it? The hana would be having putting a fence up. But what is the again? If something grows in the field, it's not a stira.
So what were you saying his midas chassidus was? What was the midas chassidus?
The chassidus was that he didn't close it up.
Because
in other words,
he thought of a
what
guy?
stopped him from closing the field up after Shabbos?
Because he thought of a guy?
Says the Taz, because he was thought of having a guy do it on Shabbos, he was choishes for the shita of Yeruchim. Since he thought about it, he didn't do it. That was the chassidus.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Says the Gemara Vaita, Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Mutal Adam Loima Lechaveroi Lekrach Ploini Ani Hailech Lamacha. You can tell your friend, listen, on Shabbos, to such and such a place I'm going, She'im Yesh Burgenin Hailech, because since we're going to meet Burgenin guys, or huts, you're not allowed to go outside the Tchum, but where do we start counting the Tchum from? So if you have a hut that's within 72/3 amas of the city, you start from that hut. You don't start from the wall of the city to 2,000 amas. You start counting from there. So therefore, he says, "I'm not." The city he's speaking to is outside the tchum, but with the burgenin, if you start the 2,000 there, it would be inside. So even if there's no burgenin, we'll consider it as if there is. Tanan, Simyesh burgenin hoylach Tanan, Eimach Shichim al tchum liska poilim, ulehevi Paris. Now Bishleim liska poilim, the Bishabas le matzi agar. Ulehevi Paris lema Shimyesham mechitzos mevi. Now, you're telling me of a chiddush over here. You're telling me that hypothetically it's possible to do. You could say it on Shabbos. You could go ahead and do it on Shabbos. So therefore, I should be able to go and say I'm going to be at a certain spot since I can go from the Burgenin. So good, I can't go ahead and the higher workers. In other words, there's no workaround. But what about bringing fruit? Let's say you put up mechitzas 10 tefachim high. Let's say you create a shusay yachid straight through. Then you could bring it, correct? So why can't you go to Machashach over there if you could bring it, right? If the Gemara Mishkachos and Peres Mechubaran, I'll tell you why not. Mishkachos with Peres Mechubaran, you won't be able to bring them. In other words, good, I can take care of my Haitzah problem by creating walls. I can't take care of my Toilish problem. There's no workaround on the fruit that is attached to the ground, guys, right? There's no possibility of working around that. I have a ton of Roshia, Ein Machshichin al Tchum Lehevi Teven V'Kash. You can't go ahead and wait by the Tchum to bring Teven V'Kash. Now, Kash is a third of its growth. Teven has already been cut. Good? So now, Bishlei Makash Mishkachas Lo B'Mechuber. Very good. I can't be Machshich because the Kash is not something I can do on Shabbos. Ela Teven Heichi Mishkachas Lo. By Teven, guys, L'chayra I should be able to go ahead, since it's cut already. What could I do? Put up walls and bring it. Yet I'm not allowed to do it. The answer is the Gemara is speaking about Tivna Sarya, speaking about smelly Tevin. That's something that is muktzah. It's muktzah. So I have a muktzah problem. Therefore, since it's muktzah, I won't be able to bring it. And therefore, you can't be mechashich. You can't go ahead and take up shop on the tchum. Toshma, again, the same concept of what? Of if there's a workaround, I should be able to go ahead and take up shop. Machshichin ala tchum. You're able to go ahead on Shabbos, go to the Tchum, that Motzei Shabbos, as soon as it hits, you should be able to take care of inyane mace and inyane kala. Now, mashma, the same corollary by another person you would not be able to. In other words, I'm going to do something for this kala that I could do for another girl. For another girl, I wouldn't be able to go, but for a kala, I could. I could go there and do something for the mace that I'm able to go for the mace, but the corollary, the same, a live person, the same action, I won't be able to do for her. So now we're going to try to fit in those blanks. I'm going to fill in the boxes there. We're going to try to fill in these boxes. Says the Gemara. Let's go now. Al iske kala mace in dafka the chum on iske kala mace you could go. Al iske acher another person low. That bishlema echad acher doima de kala mishkachas la lemiska leasya. You can't wait to go ahead and cut down branches from hadas. I guess they used to make for the kala like a laurel around their head, so that you could wait to do it for a kala, but you couldn't wait to do it for a other person. So we just filled in the boxes of kala. What about mace? Good. Well, a mace meinenu lahevi arim b'tachrichin v'ketani mace in aval achaloi v'mai leimishim yesham mechitzos maybe, right? So in other words, the mace. What can you possibly do for a mace that the corollary would be for another person that you can't do? Tachrichin, arim, carrying that you can carry. Well, so therefore, so another person you should be able to carry it for, right? Put up mechitzos, the same thing we said before. So the Gemara answers, no. Glima, to cut a garment. In other words, you won't be able to go ahead, wait on the border to cut a garment for tachrichin for other person. You would be able to do that for a mace. So therefore, we filled in the boxes. But yeah, that's the thing. For kala and another person, it's cutting hadassim. For the mace and the other person, it's cutting cloth. He said, aval machshichin. Right, for all, you can go ahead and if it was, he said, what did the Mishnah say? Aval machshichin lishma umevi peiris. You can go ahead and for peiris you can go ahead and be machshichin. Now we got a problem. You're waiting at the boundary to do what? To do malacha. You're waiting at the boundary to do malacha, right? Don't we have a havdalah problem? What are you going to do? You're at the boundary. I assume there's not a liquor store right? To go ahead and get some booze, get some. What? Oh, okay. Well, let's see. It's also for a person to perform his deeds before he makes Havdalah. These such smart guys, right? Right? If you make Havdalah and you still have to be Mavla on the Kais. Guys, if you make Havdalah, you still got 3 days to make Havdalah, but you got to make Havdalah. You got to make Havdalah, correct? So l'chayra, why can you not go ahead? Why does it help to wait to go ahead and watch your Paris? You won't be able to go ahead. You have to make Havdalah, guys. So how does it help? So Tigmer of Nasan Barami Kamei the Rabbi Benakisha Shanu. Guess what? Benakisha, you have a Kais Besada, right? And you have the Kisais, you have the vineyard. Go take a squeeze. Amr Ravashi, Marova Minon Hachi. In Eretz Yisrael, we say the following: Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'chol, ve'avdinin tzarchei. Say Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'chol, and do your needs. Let's see Rashi. Hamavdil ben Kodesh l'chol, lehekera ba'alma, to go ahead and as a leheker, l'lavay says hamelech, to leave the melech Kodesh Baruch Hu as Shabbos leaves, and then you could do your tzarchei. He has one in the field. I don't know. When I was part of Kahana, he would say Amad ben Kodesh L'chol, u'mistalinon solase, and he would go ahead and he would cut wood. So you see that it's mutter to do malacha, even though this is nothing to do with the Havdalah Shemon Esrei. It's a hakara that you could say. What do we say? Come over. You say Baruch Hamavdil. I'll tell you a Maisa even before Ma'ariv. I was in Yerushalayim. It was a long walk to shul, and it was I didn't keep 72, and it was like 75, and there was a car, and I said Baruch Hamad Mekadosh Shachol, and I got in the car and I drove and I said Daven Ma'ariv afterwards. In other words, that's contingent upon Ma'ariv. I didn't say Atachanatan, but I said Baruch Hamad Mekadosh Shachol, and that was enough. Okay, I'll post this. Steve, I'll give it to you. You can post it. Have a great night, guys. Thanks.
Good
Rabbi,
night. Good
Rabbi,
night. Good night.
Can you email it to me?